Okay, so in the last video we actually stopped at dealing with the authentication controller, where we made the sign up, we connected to the sign up endpoint, we also connected to the login endpoint. So currently now the next thing to do before we build and design the UI is to go and work with the post controller, which is going to handle all the posts, get posts, single posts, all the posts, upload posts. You see create post. Okay. There's one more function we forgot to add here. We forgot to add let's come here, right, get single post, right? So we can also get a single individual post by passing in the ID of the post. So to get a single post, all we need to do is pass in the ID. So we're gonna call this post ID, right? Yep. Okay, which could be nullable. All right, so let's start with create post now. We're going to go to Postman to see, to create a post, that is upload post here on Postman. Let's see the endpoint for that. Okay, the endpoint is API / this is it. Okay, so now we still need that base URL. We still need that base URL, right, to create a post. And because we're going to upload an image, so we're going to use the form data. We're not going to use the normal one. Let me show you what I mean. Because we are uploading an image, we are going to use multi-path file to upload the image. So remember, we used multi-path for during the login or during the sign up. We used a multi-path file to upload the image. So we're gonna do same here to create posts, because we are dealing with images. So we're gonna use the multi-path file to do that. So it's gonna be similar to that of the sign up. So all we need to do is just pass in the necessary parameters here. So to create a post, what do we need? We're gonna need a title of the post, description, and let's say categories, and also image. Okay, so let's go there. That's right. We're gonna need string a title. We're gonna need description. We're gonna need let's make it a list of strings. Let's make it a string category of post. And we're also gonna need, for the image, we are gonna need a list of kind of like byte int, you know. So that would be a list of int for, what is called it, image upload. We're gonna need a string, the file name, and we're also going to need a string again for the media type, right? It could be PNG, could be JPEG, you know, media type. Okay, so let's just make this, all of this nullable here. Okay, so that's cool. And then we need to make this function an asynchronous function, because we're dealing with a network request. So for that, we're going to say request is going to be equal to HTTP. We have to import it. I don't think we imported that. We have to import the package HTTP okay, to HTTP dot, we're gonna say multi-path file. Okay, but remember that before we make use of this HTTP and GetX in a pubspec file here, we have to install these two dependencies. In case you did not do that, I'm just telling you, make sure you install these two dependencies, right? Okay, so So in this way, we're gonna be a post request, and then we're gonna pass in the URI dot parse. We need the constant. Remember the constant class we created. Then from there we access the base URL, and then it's showing a red line here. I think it's because it should be a multi-part file, a multi-part request. Okay, so it's gonna be constant. Then let's make this more like a URL, a string here. Then in here, all we have to do is do this with the curly braces, and then we append the base URL to it, which is /API upload post. Okay. Okay, all right, so that is it. So the next thing to do is right there, this request, all we need to do is add the files to it now. So we're going to add the file. The only file that is the image, the post we are creating, we are going to attach an image to it. So say add files. Okay, so in that case it's going to be like this. Okay, so in create post, we're adding a file. We're going to attach files to it. So we're going to say http dot multipart file dot from bytes. So the field here, remember the field here is going to be the key value. Just go to Postman. The field is going to be images. Yeah, we're going to copy the key here. And then that's what the field is going to be here. And the value is going to be the list of this int here, this list of integer kind of numbers, kind of like bytes here, the image upload. So let's call it image. Let's change the name here. Okay, so the value here is going to be image int, right? Then we have the file name. Then we have the file name. The file name is what we passed into the constructor here, so we're going to just pass it down here, file name. And then the content type is going to be media type. So the media type is just passing media type. So remember that we have to import this using we need import. For that media type, we need the HTTP parser, right? Yeah, that's what we need. Okay. This would be put a bank sign here. See. Put it here as well. It should work here. Right. We need to just copy this as well. That we just paste it in here, the same key value, we give it the same name. Alright, so this is how we upload an image to the endpoint. You know, when you wanna upload an image to an API, you use these procedures here using the multi-part request and multi-part file. Okay, so now we just added the file, we just added the image. Then we just leave it here. So the next thing is to add the remaining fields. So all we need to do is request dot fields, right? Then we have to go copy the value from Postman here. We need to know the key value is description. First of all, we need the title, right? So we need the title, which is gonna be equal to title. And we need the request we also need the title, we need the description, remember to put the bank sign here, this symbol here, in order to remove that nullable kind of. Okay, so one more thing, what else do we need? We need the category. Okay, so I'm going to say passing the category of post. Alright, so remember that's what we got. Remember we created all these parameters here. Okay, so that is right. Now we finally to the endpoints, right? This is the endpoint. The endpoint here is the upload post endpoint. So we finally attach the file to it, using the multi-part file. We upload an image right now to it. So that all of these were passed into this kind of like a function here. We passed all the parameters into the constructor, which will be gotten from the UI. We're gonna go design the UI later on in a bit, but all these constructors, the title, all these parameters here, the description, category of post, everything here comes from the UI, which we are gonna connect everything to the UI later on in this video. So now for the response here, after we attach the file and then the title and the description and the category, for the response here, it's going to be exactly the same way we did in the authentication. During the sign up, you just go copy this. It's exactly going to be the same like this. We have to make sure we don't need to type it, we already have that here. So you just paste it inside the post controller here. Okay, and then we import this. Okay, so now we're done with, we can create a post now as it is. The next thing is to get all posts. It's going to be a get request, right? So to get all posts, what we just need to do is http.client. We're going to communicate with the HTTP client. We're going to call client here is equal to new http.client here. There's no need for the new. Okay, so now in that way, all we have to do is say the var HTTP. We get the response. We're going to get response from the client. So to get response from the client, we're going to say HTTP response. No, we're going to say HTTP dot response. Response here is equal to client. So we want to get a post. We're going to say .get. It's going to be a get request. Okay, so we're going to say client.get. Remember to make it asynchronous here because we are dealing with a network request, and right here we're going to say await. Okay, for the network kind of like a response here. So the URL is going to be a URI.parse. In that case, we need the base URL, which is gotten from. Remember, we created a constant class. So this constant class is holding some kind of like constant value that never gonna change in this app. Like this is a constant in my base URL. So I'm coming to the post controller. I'm gonna call on the static variable there. So we're gonna say constant dot base URL, and then to get all posts, all we need to do is append the. Let's make this kind of like a string here. All we need to do is let's go to Postman to get all posts. All we need to do is just append the /API post here. Okay, slow. We just need to append this here. Okay, that is it. So now, simply how we get a post, we call on the client, we use the HTTP response, get the response from the post endpoint, from the RestApis endpoint. We use the client, we use the await keyword here. So in here we have we're gonna say the var. We're gonna call these JSON. Let's say decode response, right? It's gonna be JSON decode, and we're gonna decode response.body. Okay, so that same way we can get the status, you know, if it's successful. If it's successful, it's gonna be like 200 for success and 401 or some other error code is gonna throw. So in this case, we're gonna say if status is 200, meaning that if status is 200, then we're gonna do something else. We're gonna throw, there's an error. Okay, so now we have all the posts. We've done that. We've just worked with this function that has to do with getting all posts. So let me show you what I mean by 200 here. If I go to Postman and I get all posts, right? You see here the status here is 200, meaning that it is okay. You see, it gives us all the posts with the message, success, and all of this. So that's what I mean by 200. So if it is 200, which means that our request was successful, then we're gonna execute something. We're gonna say show all posts on the UI for the user, else throw the error for the user. Okay, so we have all the posts. Now let's work on getting a single post. To get a single post, all we need is the ID. It's gonna be exactly like this. We don't need to do anything different. All we need to do to get a single post, all we need to create the HTTP client. But client equal to HTTP client. Then from there we get the HTTP response. Response is equal to, make this asynchronous because we're dealing with a network request, right? So we're gonna say await. The await will be client dot, but since it's gonna get the get request, right? So it's a get request, and then that way we can now say the URI dot parse. We're gonna call the constant again, so we're gonna say constant dot base URL is gonna be a string, right? So we're gonna make it a string here. And then for the base URL, all we need is the post ID, right? So now this is where something tricky is going to happen here. To get a single post, we have to pass the base URL from, we have to pass to it, we have to pass the post ID, we have to pass the post ID to the base URL. Let me go to Postman and show what I mean. So you want to get a single post, all we need to do is come to this URL, and then we pass in an ID. So it's going to be something like, let me copy this first of all. So we come here, and then we paste this in here, and then all we need to do is pass in the post ID in here. So when we pass in the post ID, that way we get the post that we need that has the ID. So you know, for every post there's a unique ID, so that is it. We pass in the ID to the base URL and be like, find the post with that ID. So now we're gonna say var, we're gonna say decode response here is equal to JSON decode, and for that we're gonna say response dot body. Okay, so now we're gonna get the status. The status is equal to, let's say, response dot status. That's good. So now if it is 200, meaning that if it is successful, if the status is successful, all we need to do is display the post on the UI. We're going to do that later using the GetX here. We're going to use the GetX to update the UI. else if it is not successful, all we need to do is throw the error. Okay, so now we are done with getting a single post, getting all posts, and create post now. So we're done with the post controller, and we're also done with the authentication controller. So the next thing to work on right now is this controller called the upload image controller, which is going to help us to upload the image. Okay, so stay tuned for this now. Okay, so before we start with the image upload, we have to create a model, for every image. We're going to have kind of like a model for every image we upload, Let me show you what I mean. So we're going to create a model for the image we're uploading. We're going to call it, let's go to the model folder here, then we're going to create a new class, and we call it, let's create something here. We call it, media upload, right? Okay. Okay, so this is the media upload class here, and in the media upload class, this is it here. So right here we're having a class. We're gonna call it media upload, right? So in here we're gonna have some kind of fields here, like this got a list of ints. We're gonna call these picture byte. Then we're gonna have a string. We're gonna call it file name. Then we're gonna have another string. We're gonna call it. Let's make all of this private for now. I'm gonna make it private. Lastly, we're gonna need the file itself. So we're gonna need the file we're uploading, right? So now let's import this. This is a class that comes inbuilt with .io. So you're gonna import this .io. You need to import that. Make this a private field as well. So now we need the constructor here. No, it will be public because we're not going to have GetX here. So we need the constructor here. We're going to generate a constructor and then pass in all of this. Okay. So this is kind of like a model for every. We're creating a model for every media, every file, or every picture we upload. We're gonna go passing all of these. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna use this class. So it's necessary we have this class more of like the media upload for every media we upload to the endpoint. We're gonna use this to get the properties of the file. So one more thing that is important is that before we use the upload image controller, before we use this controller to start uploading image, we need something called the file picker in a Flutter. So we need this file picker here, which obviously we're gonna install it. So we just need to copy it. You can go to the pubdev and then you can get it. So we're just gonna copy it. Going back to our IDE, we go to the pubspec file and then we paste it in here. So you see we have the get, we have the HTTP, now we have the file picker, and let's run the pubget and give it a little bit of time. So the pubget is running here. So the pubget is still running. Remember we installed this file picker because we're gonna upload images to the checker post controller. It takes in some kind of image. Okay, let me open the postman. So we check to upload a post. Let me show you what I mean. So to upload a post, we need to pass in some kind of images here, you see. So this image, you're gonna pass it more of like a file or picture, could be anything, but you know it's not a text. It's not gonna be a text. It's more of like a file. If you check it out here, it's a file. We are passing in a file here. So we need a file picker in order to, when we select an image on a mobile app, so the mobile app is gonna go open a mob like a gallery, and we select the file. So the file picker enables us to select images from our gallery, in the mobile app. So that's why we need it now. So going back to the, I think it's done here. You can see it has installed the package now, so we can make use of the file picker. So going back to the image, going back to the upload image controller. So going back to the upload image controller, it is necessary, let me close this. It is necessary that we import the file picker. Let me just go back to the documentation here and go to installations. I'm going to go to installations. Let me just copy that import statement down here. Okay, just copied it. So coming back to my Android Studio, I'm going to paste it here. Just paste it in here. I'm gonna paste it in here. Okay, so now we can make use of the file picker. So we're gonna create more of like a function that is gonna call select file. I'm gonna call it select files to upload, right? So this function will enable us select files that we want to upload to our endpoint. So it's gonna be an asynchronous. Okay. So now, this is when we make use of the file picker here. So in order to select files we want to upload to our endpoint, we're going to say the file picker dot this platform dot pick files, right? So I'm going to say the file picker dot platform dot pick files to enable us. So inside here now, all we need to do is write some kind of what we need. So we're going to say we're going to allow multiple files, which is going to be true because it's going to pick up to like 3-4 files, right? Then we're going to say allow extensions. It's going to be an array. Okay, so we can kind of say allow JPEG, allow PNG. Let's say PNG. You can just allow PDF if you want to, but we just want pictures, okay? Okay, so we're not gonna allow PDF, but let me just put some extensions in here. I got some. We don't want a PDF, right? So just let it be. So now these are the extensions we wanna pick, from the gallery, from our phone gallery. We wanna pick file, the platforms that pick files. So allow multiple true, allow multiple files. We're gonna allow you to pick all these files. Either it's a JPEG, PNG, JPG. So that's what we need from a gallery. And one more thing here is that the file type dot custom. Okay, so the file type is going to be custom. Okay, so this will return to us the file picker result, right? I'm going to say result is going to be equal to this Ocean rate. Let's make this a weight here, so that the weight kind of like a time. So what is this showing me? Okay. Alright, so now in this case we will now return the result, right? So the results will return. Okay, so this is going to be like a future. We're going to return a future of type file picker result. Okay, a future of type this. Alright, put a question mark here, it could be null. Alright, so that is it now. Okay, so now we can select files, either it's a PNG, JPEG or whatever, then it returns to us the result. That's the image. So now So at this point we can now say start uploading images. We could just say start uploading. Okay, it's gonna be asynchronous, okay, and it's gonna return a future because it's gonna delay, you know, so when it's delaying it returns a future as well. So to start uploading, we're gonna need a list of strings. First of all, let's just create a list of string, right? This is gonna be more of like image URLs. It's gonna be an empty array, okay. And we also need a list of, remember we created a class here under models that will contain details of the particular file we are uploading. So if we upload a file, we're gonna get the byte, the file name, the file type, and the file itself. You know, this class will contain all the details about the file. So we're gonna have a list of this as well. So we need a list of the details of the various files, media upload. Just have to import it, so we're gonna call media upload. This is gonna be of type media upload is equal to media upload this. Okay, so now we got two arrays. One will contain the image URL and the other one is going to contain details about the file that we are uploading. Okay, so now when we want to start uploading, we have to pick, that's when we now make use of this function here. So we're going to say, we want to start uploading, so we're going to say select files to upload. We're going to trigger this select file to upload function here, and it's going to return to us the list of results, right? Not really a list. It's going to return a file picker results. And we have to use the await keyword here because it returns a future in here. So let's call these results, and in here we can now say if results is not equal to null, then we can go ahead and take an action. So first of all, we're gonna get all the paths, you know, result.path of all the strings here, but that'll be more like, let's just make it a list of strings, right? I'm gonna call it path. Okay, I'm gonna call it, let's just call it all paths results. Okay, so it sent me a red line for some reasons. It sent me a red line for some reasons here, and in the red line, what am I seeing? Okay, let's just make it be null as well. Alright, so now we have the list of all the paths, all the file or image paths that we just picked, you know, from the gallery. Remember, this is gonna get the image for us. You're gonna trigger this function. You're gonna open the gallery for us to choose an image. When it opens the gallery for us to choose an image, it returns a result. Could be a list of images or a list of results, whatever it is. Then we're gonna get the list of all the paths, get the path of all the files. So one thing we need now is we need a list of files. Now we're gonna generate files from this. Let's say a list of files. So we're gonna say file. So we have to import, remember, we have to import the dio, and we're gonna say this will be sult result files that will be equal to all path result dot map. We're gonna map it here. Alright. So for every part of you know, for every, like, it's gonna be something like this, you know. It's gonna be something like data, the path here is gonna be something like data slash app slash gallery slash image dot jpg. This is gonna be, you get, so we're gonna convey this path, and for every path we get, we're gonna convert it to a file, all we have to say is we're going to say file e to list, then we're done. That's all the text. But in here, let's make this okay. So that's what it takes to generate a file. We have a list of files now. But let me see if so we have a list of files. Okay. Compress. We want to compress this file. So how do we compress it? Let's just do something here. We're gonna say file compress. I want to compress this file now. So we're gonna create a function that will be like compress take list of files, right? So this function is gonna be like list file, and you're gonna take a list of files and you're gonna compress all these files, right? So it's gonna compress all these files and return to us a future list of files. That's it. So it's gonna be asynchronous here. Should I just, what should we do here? Okay. So now in order to compress the files, we need to install a library called the path provider. Yeah. Let me go to my pubspec.yaml file. In here I'm gonna have a library. I'm gonna call it path provider because we're gonna compress the files and store them in a particular directory. So this path provider is gonna help us get a directory, a path to the directory and store the files we compress. So let's give it a while. We have to go run the pub-get and we are waiting for it. Okay, so it has successfully installed the path provider. So we're gonna go back to the upload image controller, and in here what we have to do is to compress the files, right? We have to use the path provider we just installed. So we're gonna go up and import package path provider. So we just import the path provider package path provider as okay, good path provider. So going down to our compress, what we need to do is path provider, we're gonna compress it to this get path provider dot get temporary directory. So this will return to us let's just say a directory, and then we're gonna say await. Okay, we're gonna compress the file to this directory. We're gonna compress all the files to this directory now. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna loop through this file, right, and compress each and every one of it one by one. In that case, we're gonna say file each, and then we're gonna say lists. It'll be like a list of compressed files. So we're gonna say file compressed, go to new list. Okay, so I'm not gonna say for, I'm gonna say for file each. Let's make this small letter. For file each in file. Let's make this false here. Let's make it false. We're gonna make it false then for file each in false. Okay. So for file each in, let's just do this. So for file, we're gonna loop through these files, right, and pick each and every one of it, and we're gonna compress each file in it. Okay. So what I want is the file name. So we're gonna say string here. We're gonna get the file name, and we're gonna say file each. No, file each dot split, not dot path, dot split. You wanna split it, right? Then we're gonna get the 7th. Okay, the last, which is obviously the name of the file. We're gonna get the name of the file. So now we get the name of the file. Let's just remove this now. This is the name of the file. Yeah. So now what we want to do, we want to create a new directory, right? So we're gonna say string target directory is equal to, we're gonna say directory dot absolute dot path. We're gonna append it to, so we're gonna have here is slash the name .jpg. Okay, so that's how we're gonna store it. No need for this. Let's remove this. Okay, so this is the, okay, so this is the directory we're gonna compress. We're gonna compress the files, and we're gonna store it in this directory. And we're going to generate for every file we compress, we generate a new name, you know, based on the name of the file that we get. Okay, so now we are closer to, okay, so now there's a library that we need to install in order to proceed from here. This library is called the image compress. So the library that we're just gonna install here is the Flutter image compress. Okay, so let me go to my browser. So this is the library, Flutter image compress. So all we have to do is install it and then import it. Okay, so we're just gonna go install it now. Okay, so we just do the pub get here and we wait for it to install. Okay, so it has been installed here, and then we are going to use it still in our upload image controller to proceed from here. All we have to do is to import it up here. Let me go copy the import statement. So okay, so we now imported it up here. Now we can use it inside our compress. Yeah, we can use it to compress all the files. So we're going to compress the files and then store it in this target directory here. So let's do that. I think we should create a function already for that. Okay. So the function is going to be called execute compression here, and then all you're gonna do is you're going to take in a file, and then it's gonna be asynchronous, and it's going to return a feature. The feature is going to be a compressed file, but this file is going to be compressed. Okay. Alright, so we are closer to getting what we want. Show me radio why. So in here we're gonna have Flutter, let's see the documentation first of all in order to use it in README. I just want to go through the documentation a little bit here. Okay, this is it. So we're gonna say Flutter image compress with file. Okay, got it. Okay, so we're gonna say Flutter image compress and get file. Yeah, that's what we want to use. Compress and get file. So take note, we need to also pass in here the directory in which we want to store the file. That's the target path. So it's a path directory. It's a directory path. Yeah. So just gonna pass in here directory path. Okay, and then in here all we're doing is gonna say we're gonna get the file dot so we're gonna get the file dot absolute dot path. Okay. Alright, so you're gonna come now, this will compress this file and return to us a file. So it will return to us a file that is compressed. All we need to do is do the quality here. I'm gonna use 55 and then rotate. It's gonna be 0. Okay. So this will return to us a file that is compressed. So let's just see, what does it return? Let's just check what it returns. It returns to us. Now let's just do the var results here. Okay. So in here, I think we should just return the result, right? Okay. So execute compression. Okay, this is it now. This is it for this function. I think the function works. So all we have to do is inside here. All we have to do is inside this for loop. When we loop through every file, we're gonna compress each and every one of it. So now to do that, we're gonna call execute compression. That's this function that we just created here. Then we're gonna pass in a file, which is the file in every loop. So we're gonna say file each and then directory path. The directory path is going to be this target directory. That's where we want to store that file. So we're going to store it in that target directory, and then that is it. So in here, all we have to do is we're going to say the file is equal to await. Okay. So it returns to us that file. Should I do this? Okay, so that is it. So now we have the file that is that is compressed. We have the file that is compressed right now. So all we have to do is we're going to add, for every compressed file, we add it to this array right here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say file compress.add. We're going to add this new file value. Okay. So that is it now. So now we have, for that we're going to have all the compressed files in this list. So I think we're on the right track. And remember, this function, all it does is takes in a list of files it will compress it and return the list of compressed files. So after that, all we have to do is return. I'm gonna return file compressed. Okay, so that is it now. Okay, so we have compressed all the files now we passed in here. So going back to the up here to start uploading now. So remember we have to create all these other two functions here. Let me just close this. So we have three functions here now. So we have to go through this procedure to make sure there's no error and all of that, to make sure that all the files are uploaded correctly. So now let's proceed. So first of all, we pick the files from our phone gallery, and the files is not null. We get all the parts of the files, and then we convert all of them to a file, right? Now we want to compress the file. This is file compress. Okay, so the reason we had to create all of this is to make sure that when you select the image from the gallery, as I say, it reaches this point where you convert all the kind of like the result, you convert all the file path you choose from a gallery, we convert it down to a files, and now we want to compress all these files from the gallery. So this is what we're going to do. File compress is equal to compress take list of files, and all we have to do here is going to be like files, then we pass in result files. We're going to compress all the files that we get from the gallery, right? So we're going to say await here as it's. So in that case, this is all we have to do. Except there's something wrong. Okay, it will return a list, right? A list of compressed files. Okay. All right. It has compressed all the files now we choose from a gallery, right? So we have all the files compressed. Oh yeah, that was really much hectic, you see, but doing it. So what we have to do is we're gonna loop through these files. We're gonna say for this is the same file. We're going to say for each file, we want to do something is we want to loop. What we want to do now is we're going to loop through these compressed images. We're going to loop through it, all these compressed files. When we loop through it, we're going to create a media upload, kind of like a media upload. Remember, we have a list of media upload here. This is what we're going to use to we're going to send this to the API, right? So we need a list of these. So we need to create it. So each file here in file compress. Okay. So for each of this file here, what we need to do is that we're going to create a media upload for this. So for the media upload, we need the picture byte, we need the file name, we need the media type, and we need the file itself. So we're going to create each and every one of these now. So in that case, let's start with the picture byte. It's going to be a list of ints picture byte. So how do we get that now? In order to get that, all we're going to say is each file dot read as byte async. Okay, so we got it there. It's going to be equal to this. Okay, so we have that. The next thing we need is the file name. File name. So the file name, how do we get it now? We're going to say each file dot path dot split. We're gonna split it and then we're gonna get the last one. Let's just get it. But actually, if we split it and let's say, let's just leave it like that. We'll just check it out. So that we got the file name, and then we need the media type, which is also going to be a string. How do we get that media type? Not just okay. For this file now, let's just get this. So all we need is the media type. For this file, we're just going to pass in here each file. Okay. It's just the media type we need. So let's go ahead to install a package here that will help us get that media type here. So we're going to install a package called path. Okay. I'm going to run the pub-get and then let's wait for it. Okay, so we have the library path installed. It's going to help us get the extension. So go back to our image controller, and all we have to do is to import it up here. So we're going to say import package path as p. Okay, so coming down here, all we need to do is we're going to say the var, we're going to get the extension, and then we're going to say the p.extension. Then all we need to do is pass in each file dot path, right, to get the extension for us. So from there we can now say string. Okay, we can get this, uncomment this. We can now get the media type is equal to extension dot split. All we need to do is split the dot in here. So that way we have the media type. It's gonna return an array of strings. Sorry, yeah. That way we split the dots in it. Split returns an array. So let's just make this list of doing the Java way. List of strings. Okay, so in that case, all we need to do is we're gonna say so we're gonna say string media type is equal to result, and all we want is the second, which is actually 1. Okay, so that way we got the media type now, and we've passed it all into this media upload, and now all we need to do is add it to this. See this media upload list here? We just need to add it. So we're gonna say media upload list dot add, and we're gonna add the media upload. Okay, so that way we have all our images now in the array list. Okay, so now I think we are done with the file controller. So now we can handle image upload as many images as we want. Yeah, so all this code makes it much more efficient because I took time to make sure everything works perfectly. So this way now we are done with the image controller, and we are also done with the post controller, and we are also done with the authentication controller. So we're gonna continue from here in the next video. The next video, all we have to do is design the app. We're gonna design the UI. You're gonna see how the app looks like. Then after the design, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna use GetX controllers. All these GetX controllers here, we're gonna use these controllers to interact with the user interface, with the UI. I'm gonna show you how I'm doing that. So see you guys in the next video. Thank you.